Exposed, 7 sinister catfish dating nightmares that will haunt you forever. Sarah sat on her couch, staring blankly at her phone. The storm outside raged, lightning biting the sky open, and each crack of thunder echoed in her chest. She was diving headfirst into a world that promised connection, only to find herself teetering on the edge of a nightmare. After her divorce, she thought dating was supposed to be fun, invigorating. Instead, she felt trapped like a fly in a spider's web. That's when she met Jake, or at least the digital version of him. He was charming, funny, the type of guy who made her heart flutter with just a text. But behind every message, lurking in the shadows, was a sinister undercurrent. Is he real? The whisper of doubt flickered in her mind, but she smothered it. The thrill of possibility warmed her lonely nights. Until doubt turned to dread. The missed calls and strange messages began to pile up. Jake's texts became increasingly vague, filled with inconsistencies. What should have felt like comfort now bathed her home in the cold grip of uncertainty. The tension twisted tighter each day, and her 16-year-old Lily started to notice. "Mom, something feels off," she said, concern etched across her youthful face. "I don't trust this guy." But Sarah brushed her off, blinded by the spark that Jake ignited. She had finally opened up, she was finally ready to let someone in. But then came the storm. That dark and oppressive night, when the wind howled like a lost soul. Suddenly, there was a loud knock at the door, a sound that rattled her to her bones. Heart racing, she gripped her phone tightly and peered through the curtain. There he stood, Jake, drenched and smiling as if he had just stumbled from a fairy tale. But nothing felt fairy tale-like anymore. An icy shiver chased down her spine, and her stomach twisted. This was no charming escort, this was an intruder at her safe haven. "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." Desperation clawed at her throat as she fumbled for her phone to call for help. But fear turned to paralysis as the silence enveloped her home like a thick fog, muffling her cries. She darted a glance at Lily, whose worried expression mirrored the unease swelling in Sarah's chest. "Mom, what if he has bad news? What if?" Lily's voice quivered with fright. And then Jake's smile twisted, unnervingly genuine, as he mentioned things about her life that he shouldn't have known. Panic gripped Sarah. With each passing moment, innocence turned to horror. The stories he told began to unravel, revealing a truth more terrifying than the folklore predators whispered among neighbors. She felt trapped in her own home, as if the walls were tightening, and it wasn't just a storm that was brewing. As Jake stepped further inside, the room seemed to darken, casting lingering shadows that danced as cruel reflections of her spiraling trust. Sarah's heart raced as she realized she had let a predator into her life. Night cloaked the suburban peace, and she, along with her daughter, now stood at the center of an unseen terror. The question loomed as the storm forged ahead: were they safe, or had they unwittingly brought the nightmare home? Jake stepped inside, shaking off the rain like a wet dog, and the door slammed behind him, sealing them in a prison of doubt. The air thickened, stifling Sarah's breaths as reality shifted around her. He leaned against the wall with casual confidence, yet everything about his demeanor was off-kilter, set on the edge of an unseen danger. "Hey there, Sarah," he said, his voice buttery smooth, but it dripped with something darker. "I couldn't wait any longer to see you." She felt the hairs on the back of her neck stand straight up. "You shouldn't have come here," she managed to whisper, her heart thundering in her chest. "Why not? I thought we wanted to meet." The smile on his face did not reach his eyes, which were cold and calculating, as if assessing their every move. Lily shuffled closer to her mother, her eyes wide with panic. "Mom, let us call the police," she urged, her voice trembling. "Should?" Jake interrupted, raising a finger to his lips. "No need for that. We're just getting to know each other, right?" The walls felt like they were closing in, pressing against Sarah's chest. With every inconsistency of his words, every glance he shot in their direction, her instinct screamed at her to run. What did he know? What was he after? "Stop it!" she shouted, surprising even herself. "Just stop acting like you know us." "But I do know you." His voice dropped to a low murmur, sinister and soft. "I know where Lily goes to school. I know you work late on Thursdays. I even know your favorite coffee order." Fury mixed with terror as Sarah glanced at Lily, who looked helplessly back at her. How do you know that?" Sarah stammered, anger boiling over her fear. Jake stepped closer, invading their space with an unsettling proximity. "Let us just say, I have my ways." This wasn't just about a romantic connection anymore. There was something twisted lurking beneath his practiced charm. "Why are you here?" Sarah breathed, desperation seeping into her voice. "Tell me. If you think you can waltz in and scare us, oh, it's not just about scaring you," Jake interrupted, his smile widening, twisting into something grotesque. "It's about revealing the truth. You're living in a delusion. Your life is a puzzle, and I'm here to show you the missing pieces." "Get out," Lily said, her voice raw but firm. "Not until you understand," he shot back. "You need me." With every word, the air filled with dread, viscous and overpowering. The storm outside intensified, pummeling against the house, reflecting the chaos swelling within. The window rattled under the onslaught of wind and rain, and in that moment, Sarah realized something dire. What if he wasn't alone? Every knock at the door could be a harbinger of worse things coming, shadowy figures lurking just beyond the veil of rain. She needed to act, to protect her daughter, before they were engulfed by whatever darkness Jake brought with him. "Lily, let us," but before she could finish, the lights flickered above them, plunging the room into shadow. Panic surged as she grabbed Lily's hand tight. "Where do you think you're going?" Jake's voice sliced through the darkness, shaking the very core of her resolve. The door creaked ominously, and Sarah's heart sank. All they needed was an escape route. But where? As thunder shook the foundations of their home, a crash sounded from the back of the house. Something or someone was coming for them. "Stay close," Sarah urged, voice steady despite the terror coursing through her veins. But as they backed away from Jake, his laughter twisted through the air, a foreboding echo that promised mischief and pain. Just then, there was another knock, this one softer but laced with palpable dread. "Did you hear that?" Lily whispered, eyes darting around. Sarah froze, caught between the malignant presence before her and the mystery outside that threatened to unravel their very lives. Who was at the door? Were they friend or foe? The tension hung in the air, thick as fog, and just as murky. The night pressed in, shadows stretching and contorting in the sporadic light of the flickering bulbs. Each pulse felt like a countdown, bringing Sarah closer to the edge of despair. She clutched Lily's hand tighter, feeling her daughter's little fingers tremble against her palm. The sound of the storm raged outside, blending with the thunderous pounding of her heart. "Mom, we can't stay here," Lily whispered, her voice barely rising above the din. What if he hurts us?" Jake's laughter, low and sinister, curled through the air, suffocating the space between them. "Hurt you?" he crooned. "I'm not here to hurt you, just to help you see the truth." Sarah felt a chill run through her. He was playing with them, twisting reality into a nightmarish puzzle. "You think this is funny?" she shot back, frustration lacing her words. "What do you want?" "Ah, now we're getting somewhere." Jake leaned in closer, his breath hot and foul. "It's not what I want, but what you need. The truth is always harder to face than the lie." Suddenly, the knock echoed again, definitive and urgent. It splintered the tension, sending a jolt through Sarah. She glanced toward the door, her instinct screaming at her to check. But what if it was just another noxious game Jake was playing? "Mom, please, I don't like him. I want to go now." Lily's voice was barely a whisper, fear bubbling beneath the surface. "Should?" Jake whispered mockingly. "Listen to her, Sarah. She senses danger. But it's not me you should be worried about." The lights flickered again, bathing the room in an unsettling glow that made shadows dance like they were alive. The air felt electric, charged with terror. Every second, the suspense thickened like a noose tightening around them. "Open the door." Another voice called, deeper, with an edge that sliced through the chaos. It wasn't Jake, that much Sarah could tell. "We need to talk. Let us in." Her body tensed. Who was out there? If she opened the door, would they be saved, or would they walk straight into a trap set by Jake? "Don't listen to him," Jake hissed, panic tinged with desperation as he moved in closer. His hands balled into fists. "They'll hurt you, Sarah. You can't trust anyone but me." "Enough." Sarah's voice rang out, raw and furious, fueled by fear for her daughter's safety. She took a step forward, forcing Jake to back off. "You don't own me. You don't decide what I do." The winds howled outside, slashing against the windows, forcing her to consider the reality that lay behind the door. "Make your choice, Sarah." Jake's voice lowered, laced with menace. "Open the door, and you might let in the very thing that'll destroy you. But stay with me, and I promise to show you everything." Lily whimpered, and Sarah could feel the warmth of her daughter's fear rising like smoke between them. A sick knot formed in her stomach, time was running out. "Mom, please," thunder boomed again, rattling the frames of the windows. "Just one little choice," Jake taunted. "Do you want to embrace the unknown, or cling to the safety of your predictable nightmare? I'm offering you something real." As he said that, another voice chimed in from outside, sounding urgent and desperate. The sound tinged with a strange familiarity that struck a chord deep within Sarah. "Sarah. It's me. Open the door. Please." Her breath caught. The voice pulled at something buried. A haunting echo of the past, perhaps? Who was it behind the door? Jake's eyes reflected a darkness that seemed to pull her in, the choice before her a chasm of mystery and horror. Would she take a leap into the unknown, or remain trapped in this storm of manipulation? The inevitable collided with Sarah's fragile resolve. She glanced from Jake, whose cruel smile widened, to the door, the soft relentless knocking resonating with fear and urgency. "Mom, please." In that moment, the weight of a single choice threatened to unravel everything. What would she do next? Would she dare to open the door and risk the horrors lurking outside, or face the devil she thought she knew? The air was thick with anticipation, each heartbeat an echo in the surreal silence that followed Jake's taunts. Sarah's gaze flitted between the door and the figure before her, the conflicting emotions twisting her insides like a vice. "Sarah." The voice insisted again, laced with desperation and worry. "I promise it's me. I'm not here to hurt you." Instinct urged her to trust it. But dread crawled under her skin at the thought of taking the risk. Who could it be? Jake stepped closer, an ominous shadow looming over her resolve. "Don't you understand? He's not your savior. He's a distraction. They always are, as they lead you right back into my arms." "Shut up." Sarah screamed, summoning wild defiance against the chaos spiraling within her. She glanced again at the door, the knocking becoming a metronome, steady and relentless. With each knock, her hope flickered and fought for air. "Mom, please." Lily's voice trembled, breaking the suffocating tension that bound them. Then, with a move driven by instinct and terror, Sarah turned her back on Jake, her determination solidifying with each step toward the door. The space between her and the handle felt electric, a silent battle of wills pounding in her chest. As she grasped the handle, Jake's voice grew more frantic. "You'll regret this, Sarah. You don't know what's waiting on the other side. You think your heart knows." With a decisive turn, she yanked the door open, the cold wind slicing into the warmth of the cramped room. There he stood, drenched from the rain, his eyes wide with urgency. "Sarah, you need to trust me. We have to go now." It was Tom, a face from her past, a reminder of comfort in a storm. Relief washed over her, a fleeting haze that momentarily quelled her fear. But dissonance followed. Jake's laughter echoed from behind, a cruel symphony to undo the fragile salvation she had found. How could she trust a heartbeat from the past twisted by the shadows around them? "Mom!" A tug on her sleeve jolted her. Lily, wide-eyed, clung to her side like a whispered plea for safety. "Get away from her!" Jake howled, darting forward as if to snatch her back into the malign darkness. Instinct mixed with panic surged through Sarah as she instinctively stepped back into the hall, pulling Lily closer. But outside the door, the wind screamed angrily, pushing against her, urging her to move further away from the abyss of Jake's malevolence. "Sarah, please. He's playing you." Tom's voice sliced through the chaos. "He wants you to think you're trapped." Jake's expression morphed, rage twisting his features. "You'll see the truth soon enough. You can't escape it, not even if you run." In that moment, time slowed. Ignoring Jake's haunting cackle, Sarah stepped fully outside, her heart pounding in sync with the howling storm. "Mom, what about Jake?" Lily's frightened tremors clung to her words. With a sinking realization, Sarah understood. Was running away really the answer? What if Jake was right about the danger lurking ahead? She could feel the storm's energy, but also the confusion flooding her mind. The shadows in her past and the uncertainties of her present loomed dangerously close. "Get inside!" Jake shouted behind her, the desperation in his voice teasing the thinnest thread of hope. Was he really trying to save them, or continue his sinister game? The storm raged. Lightning fractured the night sky, illuminating the road ahead. "Mom! Please," Lily whimpered, as Tom reached for them, his hands a beacon amid the chaos. With two paths laid bare before her, would Sarah leap into the unknown with Tom, or linger in the deceptive comfort of her tormentor? "What will it be, Sarah?" Jake sneered, his eyes glimmering with wicked amusement at the crossroads of despair. She could almost taste the tension on her tongue, the breath of fate hanging in the balance. A crack of thunder echoed ominously behind her. And then, with a heart-stealing clarity, she made her choice. But would it lead her to safety or into a deeper abyss? The answer was blurred, lost in the swirling tempest. As the storm surged ever fiercer, a new sound slithered through the air, a low growl, something lurking beyond the shadows, revealing that perhaps danger was all around them, not just from the choices they made. What lurked just beyond the veil of darkness? The moment Sarah stepped outside, the winds roared, whipping her hair around her face like angry fingers grasping for her. She cast a quick glance over her shoulder, half expecting to see Jake twisting into something more monstrous, but all she saw was his expression twisted, rage-stricken, as if he were the storm itself. "Mom!" Lily cried again, clutching Sarah's hand with a grip that felt like a lifeline. "Run!" Tom urged, propelling them forward with a fierce determination. The gravel crunched under their feet, but the noise was swallowed by the wind's fury. It felt unreal, like moving through a dream where everything was glinting, harsh and cold. But adrenaline turned each step into conflict. Was it truly safety they were running toward? Or a trap waiting to snap shut, silencing her cries forever? Suddenly, from behind, the growl echoed again, low and guttural, reverberating deep in her chest. Whatever lingered in shadows was close, too close. The hairs on her neck pricked up in unison like 1,000 tiny alarms. "Did you hear that?" Lily whimpered, her eyes wide, darting around as if expecting a threat to leap out from the dark. Sarah nodded, fear clawing at her throat. Was it the storm? Or something else? We need to keep moving, Tom insisted, his breaths coming quicker from the cold and fear. He seemed filled with urgency, yet there was something in his eyes that told her even he felt it, a presence that shouldn't be there, lurking just beyond the limited glow of distant streetlights. The space in front of them opened into a clearing, revealing a glimmer of light, a gas station, barely hanging on like a floundering beacon against the stormy night. There. Tom pointed, hope flickering. Let us go. Without waiting for another word, Sarah pulled Lily and dashed across the gravel field. The station loomed nearer, a minute island of safety in a tempest of chaos. They ran harder, hearts racing, the gas station's flickering neon sign blurring in and out of focus. But then, a sound made her freeze in her tracks. It was an echo, a voice, crashing over the wind. Sarah. The voice was unmistakable. Searing with familiar desperation. It was Jake, breaking through the storm. Sarah, please, come back. You're making a mistake. She hesitated, guilt clawing at her. Were they abandoning something she didn't understand? But then came the growl again, more pronounced, more demanding. Whatever threatened them wasn't going away. Tom. She shouted, panic threading her voice. What do we do? Before he could answer, the growl escalated into a snarl, sharp and terrifying, sending chills racing down her spine. Move! He shouted, dragging them forward again, their footsteps pounding into the concrete as they reached the door. Inside, the air was stale and too warm, a suffocating envelope that contrasted sharply with the storm's cold breath. The old fluorescent lights buzzed ominously, casting long shadows that seemed to dance, mocking their fear. Sarah turned, her instincts still on high alert. Did you see what it was? I don't know, I didn't look. Tom's voice was strained, his brow slick with sweat. Mom. Lily pleaded, tugging at her arm, pulling her gaze back toward the glass entrance. Outside, Jake's silhouette pressed against the glass, his face a mask of anguish and rage. The shadows behind him shifted, dark shapes swirling like restless ghosts. I told you, Sarah. He's going to hurt you. Jake's voice was hoarse, desperate as he slapped a palm against the glass, the sound echoing through the tiny shop. What if he's right? Lily whispered, her own terror seeping into her words. No. Sarah screamed, shaking her head fiercely, forcing back the paralyzing doubt. Thunder cracked again outside, shaking the foundation as much inside her heart as the building itself. They were safe for now, but the presence outside loomed large. What the hell are we dealing with? Tom breathed out, shaking his head, disbelief washing over his features. Suddenly, from deep within the shadows of the store, a rustle came hard and heavy, something impossibly dark slithered into the light, and the growl twisted into a sinister chuckle, filling the air like a noxious fog. Sarah's breath hitched in her throat. As she looked around at the flickering lights, her heart sank. Out here in the storm, something undeniably evil lingered. What had they unleashed upon themselves? And what was waiting for them just beyond the veil of the shadows? The rustle grew louder, a rhythm that pounded like a heartbeat, steady and threatening. Sarah's eyes darted to the source of the sound. Something terrible waited just beyond the flicker of the harsh fluorescent lights. She felt a rush of heat and ice, fighting to break free from the suffocating weight of fear. Stay close. Tom's voice broke her moment of paralysis. He grabbed Lily's arm, pulling her toward an aisle lined with dusty snacks and empty shelves. What is it? Sarah whispered, straining to catch any signs of movement behind the flickering lights. The shadows shifted again, a dark mass slinking slowly just out of reach. It was impossible to tell if it was a shape or merely a trick of her overly strained mind. The growl transformed into a rhythmic chatter, an unsettling mimicry that bounced around the cramped space like a taunt. "Don't let it see us," Tom hissed, urgency slathered across his face. A jolt of adrenaline pushed Sarah to head down the aisle, instinct overriding thought. They needed a plan, a weapon, something to fight back with. But what could you possibly use to fight darkness? She grabbed a can of soda, her heart racing as she turned it in her hands, a pitiful defense against what waited beyond the light. "We should find the back exit," Tom suggested, scanning the shelves. "Maybe we can make a run for it." "Are you crazy?" Sarah shot back, her voice trembling. "And leave him? What if he's really in danger, Tom? What if the lights buzzed and flickered again, plunging them momentarily into an impenetrable darkness?" A scream lodged in Sarah's throat, but she clamped her hand over her mouth. When the light resumed, it revealed Jake still outside, now pounding against the glass in desperation, his face twisting in agony. The shadows behind him churned, and the growl roared again, this time coming from a different direction. "Mom!" Lily cried, clutching Sarah's leg like a lifeline. Sarah knelt next to her daughter. "I need you to listen to me. No matter what happens, you stay close to me, all right?" Lily nodded, tears glimmering in her wide eyes. The walls felt like they were closing in, a fever dream wrapping around them tighter and tighter. They couldn't remain here. Not when they were on the brink of being consumed by the shadows. "Now!" Tom shouted suddenly, sprinting towards the back of the store, tugging Lily along as he went. Sarah hesitated for a split second, torn between the urge to help Jake and the suffocating fear of what lurked behind them. But then she followed, heart pounding, every instinct screaming to escape the darkened corners of the store. As they barreled through to the rear exit, something snapped in the shadows, something powerful and wild. Sarah felt it before she saw it, like a rush of air just followed by the distinct sound of claws on linoleum. "Run! Open the door!" Tom shouted, flinging his body against the exit, but the handle wouldn't budge. Sarah turned back, dread pooling in her stomach. The darkness had taken shape, twisting into long, sinewy limbs. It stretched and contorted, the growling now a growl-bark blend, low and feral, rising and falling with ragged breath. "Tom!" She called urgently, fear surging as the entity emerged from the shadows, its eyes glinting like silver knives. "It's coming!" Lily screamed, her voice high with terror. Sarah stumbled, tugging desperately at the doorknob. There was no other choice. They had to break through. But before she could react further, it lunged forward, swift and powerful, an embodiment of the very storm they'd been escaping. "Get back!" Tom roared, pushing Sarah and Lily behind him. The entity now stood menacingly at the edge of the light, slathering itself in shadows, and then all at once it lunged, like a coiled spring finally released. With a scream that echoed through the gas station, Sarah's world went dark. What would it reveal in its chaotic embrace? And would they ever find the light again? The ground felt distant. Sarah's eyes fluttered open, and her heart drummed violently against her chest. The harsh fluorescent lights overhead flickered uncertainly, casting shadows that danced across the walls like vengeful spirits. Her breath caught in her throat as she realized she wasn't alone. Tom and Lily were sprawled on the floor beside her, the lingering echoes of Sarah's scream fading into silence. She pushed herself up, panic surging inside, and scanned the dim gas station around her. "Lily! Tom!" Lily lay still, her chest rising and falling, while Tom groaned softly, rubbing his head. The chaos of the creature's lunge felt far away, isolated in a dark corner of her mind until it hit her. The fear. The entity. "It got us," she whispered, her voice shaking and thin. Tom's eyes snapped open. "No. I mean, what happened?" Before she could answer, a low growl rolled through the store, sliding under her skin like a cold wind. "It wasn't over. Get up," she urged, reaching for them. We can't stay here. Where is it? Tom asked, scanning the area frantically. Lily stirred awake, her wide eyes searching the gloom. Mom, I'm scared. Hold on to me. Just don't let go. Sarah replied, determination breaking through her fear. They scrambled to their feet, gathering themselves amid the remnants of horror that clung to the air. But the store felt different now. The familiar aisles, once mundane, had twisted into an ominous maze. The shadows seemed to pulse, watching them. If we can reach the front door, Tom said, steeling himself for their next move. The growl emerged again, more pronounced, reverberating through the store like a warning bell. Each breath Sarah took felt heavier, filled with dread. Let us go, now. They sprinted toward the front of the store, the flickering lights casting glitchy shadows behind them. Closer, the creature's presence was undeniable. It lurked just beyond the glow, they could feel it breathing, stalking them, getting ready to pounce. Tom reached the glass doors first and yanked, but they didn't budge. Locked. He shouted, panic seeping into his voice. Try again. Sarah urged, the desperation creeping in. They tried every angle, every push, every pull. But the door remained sealed, an impenetrable barrier between them and whatever monstrosity awaited outside. A guttural snarl erupted from behind them, echoing in the confined space like death knells. It's coming! Lily shrieked, darting behind her mom. The darkness took shape again, the entity clawing at the boundary of light, its silver eyes gleaming with malevolence, exuding an aura of hunger. The mere sight filled Sarah with a visceral horror she had never known. Over there! Tom yelled, pointing toward an emergency exit at the back wall. It sat snug between the rows of shattered products and dusty flyers. I'll cover you. Sarah shouted, body tensing for the confrontation. Wait, how? Tom shot back, anxiety framing his features. Just go. Now. With thoughts of Lily's safety crushing her chest, Sarah grabbed the can of soda once more, raising it like a makeshift shield. The creature lunged as Tom and Lily darted away, its claws slicing the air in search of flesh. With a vengeful roar, it leapt at Sarah, uncontrollable rage in its movements. She braced herself, clutching the soda can tight, heart hammering against her ribs. This wasn't how it was supposed to end. And then, just as the shadows engulfed her, a blinding light erupted from the emergency exit as it swung open wide. Sarah! Come on! Tom shouted from the doorway. Would this light save them, or was there another trap waiting? As she stepped forward, the creature howled a sound that promised vengeance. What waited for them in the chaos beyond? The moment Sarah stepped into the light, a rush of warmth enveloped her, but the sense of hope crashed as she glanced back. The creature hesitated, lingering at the divide of brightness and shadows, as if evaluating its next move. Mom! Please! Lily's panicked voice pierced through the haze. Taking one last look at the entity, Sarah lunged through the doorway. The three of them stumbled into a dimly lit alley behind the gas station, the scent of rot and gasoline choking the air. The emergency exit swung shut with a definitive slam, sealing off the nightmare behind them. We're out. Tom gasped, but relief was short-lived. They were now in a new, uncertain world. The alley felt alive, thick with a suffocating darkness that felt different, somehow more sinister. Shadowy figures of trash cans and strewn debris loomed eerily, creating unsettling shapes that seemed to shift as they moved. Where do we go now? Lily whimpered, clinging to Sarah's leg, her eyes darting nervously. We need to find a place to hide, Sarah said, her voice strained but steady. We need to get away from it. A distant sound made her blood run cold. A low growl echoed through the alleyway, swirling around them like a shroud. It was everywhere, an oppressive presence hunting them down. Here. Tom whispered, nodding toward a darkened doorway at the far end of the alley. It was a door to what looked like an old, abandoned diner, the sign hanging crookedly above it reading "Open 24 hours" in faded letters. "Are you crazy?" Sarah shot back. "What if it follows us inside? We won't last out here." Tom insisted, terror in his voice. "We need to risk it." Without waiting for another protest, Sarah took a deep breath and bolted for the door, dragging Lily behind her. Tom followed closely, the gnawing sound of the creature chasing them echoing louder and clearer. It was growing angry. They could feel it. Pushing through the doorway, they stumbled inside the diner. The interior was dim and covered in grime. Plates sat abandoned on tables, their food as cold and lifeless as the shadows that hung around. Neon lights flickered above, casting sickly green hues onto the peeling wallpaper. Tom slammed the door shut behind them, breathless. "What now?" "Shoo!" Sarah hissed, listening intently. The creature's growl reverberated outside, angry and relentless. As they crouched down behind a rickety booth, a familiar but uninvited sensation crawled up Sarah's spine. An eerie stillness invaded the diner, the kind that filled her with dread. "Maybe it won't find us," Lily whispered, her thin lips trembling. "But what if it does?" Tom shot back, fear seeping into his words. Suddenly, a sharp noise shattered the silence. A crash came from the kitchen, followed by the unmistakable groaning of metal on metal. Something was looking for them. "Get down. Now!" Sarah commanded, pulling Lily low against her. They clamped their eyes shut, waiting. Each heartbeat felt like a countdown, echoing in the stillness. The growls outside faded momentarily, as if the creature was toying with them. Then, a series of footsteps resonated on the cracked floor tiles, slow and methodical. Fear gripped Sarah's throat. Who or what was in the diner with them? Before she could react, a soft whisper crept into their hiding place, a voice that slithered through the air like smoke. "I see you." The trio froze, hearts pounding as every instinct screamed at them to escape. But where could they go now? The monstrous growl returned, merging with the voice, a haunting symphony of horror. What had they awakened in this cursed diner? The darkness in the diner felt thicker, almost tangible, as if a weight pressed down on their chests. Each of them strained to listen, hearts thudding like war drums. The whisper echoed again, and this time it was clearer, dripping with unsettling familiarity. Come out, wherever you are," Lily whimpered, squeezing her mother's leg tighter. Sarah could feel the terror radiating off Tom beside her, his body tense like a coiled spring. "Listen," she muttered, trying to keep her voice steady. "We can't stay here. We need to move." As if responding to her words, the kitchen door swung open with a shriek, revealing an abyss of shadows. Something moved inside, long, sinewy limbs and dark, glistening eyes that searching for them. "Stay low," Tom hissed, inching backward. But his whisper faltered when the growl wrapped around them again, more guttural, more alive. They turned to exit through the back, but the diner had morphed into a maze of aisles and booths, the once familiar layout now tauntingly alien. Sarah took a breath, desperately searching for a coherent plan. The kitchen's creeping noises closed in, a dance of dread that kept pace with their racing hearts. "Sarah, look!" Tom pointed toward the front of the diner, where a flickering exit sign struggled against the thick gloom. "Maybe we can reach that door." "What if it's trapped?" Sarah shot back. "We don't have a choice." His tone spiraled into panic. The growling intensified, vibrating through the floor as Sarah squinted through the haze of shadows. Something stirred behind the counter, just out of sight. She could almost see it, glistening skin stretched taut over its ribs, bloodshot eyes gleaming like dying embers. "Go!" Sarah dashed toward the exit, dragging Lily behind her. Tom followed, their footsteps echoed like thunder, deafening in the suffocating quiet. They rounded the greasy counter, the stench of rancid food crashing into them, a sickly reminder of what lay ahead. The shadow shifted again, then lunged, and Sarah felt a rush of cold air whip past her ear. Whatever it was fast. She could barely keep her footing, heart hammering in her chest as she fought against the pull of unbearable dread. Faster! She screamed, adrenaline igniting every nerve ending. At that moment, fear cast aside reason, and she snatched Lily under her arm, leaping toward the door. Thud! Something crashed against the counter behind them, sending shockwaves through the air. Tom's scream mingled with the growl, creating a cacophony of horror. They burst through the exit, but the alley's darkness swallowed them whole, choking in its grip. The diner's door swung wide, revealing only shadows that crawled behind them. "Where do we go?" Lily gasped, eyes wide as terror clung to her. "Just run," Sarah shouted, yanking Lily forward, pulling Tom with them into the unknown. The alley stretched endlessly, appearing to twist and turn beyond comprehension, each step further entrenching them in madness. But the creature's growls mingled with the sounds of the city, a mockery of their escape. Familiar footsteps echoed from shadows, laughter rang out like rusty bells, and whispers broke through the silence, crafting a web of fear around them. They stumbled toward the street, desperation clawing at the back of Sarah's mind. Would they ever escape this nightmare? Would they ever see daylight again? Just as they turned the corner, a scream sliced through the night, a piercing cry that froze them in their tracks. The darkness shifted, coal-black shapes darting in and out, as if waiting for the right moment to pounce. And that voice again, lacing through the air, chuckling softly. "You can't hide forever." The three of them were on a precipice. A decision loomed before them: confront the horrors of this twisted alley or continue running blindly into the night. What they'd find next could be worse than anything they'd encountered so far. Fear twisted Sarah's insides as they stood at the mouth of the alley. The air crackled with tension, pulses of dread bouncing between them like a tightrope they had no assurance to walk. Each sound felt amplified, laughter in the air that seemed demonic, shadows shifting like predators hungry for their next meal. "Mom, where do we go?" Lily whispered, her voice shaking, each word spilling out with just a hint of her childhood fading into the terror that gripped their reality. Just let me think." Sarah snapped back, biting back the panic threatening to swallow her whole. She could barely breathe as exhaustion gnawed at the edges of her strength, but fear catalyzed her will to survive. They needed safety and escape from the twisted maze that had become their reality. "Maybe there's a car or," Tom started, his voice filled with urgency, but that when the growl ripped through the air again. It was closer now, the timbre of it resonating through her bones. "Move!" Sarah shouted, grabbing Lily's hand, darting deeper into the street that sprawled before them. Amidst chaos, among the threatening shadows, they ran straight towards the next alley, determined to outpace whatever hunted them. "Mom! I can't," Lily gasped, stumbling as the weight of dread pulled her down. "Stay with me. You have to," Sarah urged, feeling the burning need to protect her daughter. They navigated through another twisting alley, echoing the sounds of chaos and horror. Shattered glass crunched beneath their feet, but so did determination, their own fierce will to keep moving, to escape. Rounding another corner, they spotted the faint shimmer of headlights breaking through the shadows. A glimmer of hope sparked inside Sarah's chest, a beaming light cutting through the storm that clamored around them. "There!" she exclaimed. A parked car sat motionless in the flickering light, the echo of muffled music bouncing off the walls. "Get in!" Tom shouted, rushing to the driver's seat while Sarah shoved Lily into the back. She jiggled the door handle. It opened with almost a panicked ease, the metallic sound screeching harshly into the stillness. "No!" The growl snarled behind them, primal and unforgiving. Sarah's heart sank as fear wrapped tightly around her lungs. She slid into the front passenger seat and turned to Tom, whose expression was fierce and desperate. "Start the car. Go. Don't you dare let it in," Tom warned, glancing nervously at the shadows gathering at the mouth of the alley. "I won tea," she affirmed, voice cracking but resolute. The shadows loomed larger, like a blanket threatening to smother them, and the growl transformed into screams, an awful chorus of despair. The engine roared to life in a staggering moment of hope, and they shot out of the alley, tires screeching against asphalt as they burst into the road. "Where?" Tom asked, eyes wide and frantic, shifting the car left and right, trying to break from the madness that seemed to pursue them. "Anywhere but here," Sarah screamed. The familiar streets blurred past them as panic crested. They hadn't just left behind Jake or the terrifying creature, they had left behind their semblance of calm, innocence slipping further into the storms of chaos. Adrenaline coursed through Sarah's veins as they drove far from the gas station, deeper into the heart of the city where the atmosphere still breathed with life. But even that felt hollow, the wrong kind of alive, echoing the whispers of the darkness they ran from. "Mom, I think we're safe," Lily murmured, her voice barely above a whisper, trembling from the aftershocks of fear. "Safe isn't real anymore, honey," Sarah replied, her jaw clenched tight. They needed a plan, a way to ensure nothing followed them into the city, or worse yet, came back to haunt them next time. But a chill crawled over her, as if the shadows of the night were creeping inside the car itself. "Wait. There's something, I feel like something's off." Tom's expression shifted, eyes narrowing. "What do you mean?" She hesitated, a wound of doubt surfacing in her mind. "I don't know, it's like we're still in danger." The growl echoed again, this time not just from memory but within the confines of their minds, palpable and heavy. A torment of what awaited them anchored in the shadows, taunting. "Just drive, Tom. Keep driving. Don't stop," she practically begged, voice shaking with urgency. There was nothing left to lose, but the impending darkness lurked ever closer, heartbeats sinking with sobering revelation. As they pushed farther into the city, the realization dawned on her like a flash of lightning. Jake hadn't just been a danger, he was a messenger of darkness that could follow them anywhere. "Pull over," she commanded suddenly. "We need to call the police." Tom's brow furrowed. "Are you sure? Just do it," she practically yelled, the fear boiling out of her like lava. Even now, the memories haunted, too vivid to escape. Tom obeyed, pulling over to the nearest phone booth just as fear thundered against the silence pressing in on them. "Get out. Go." Sarah pushed Lily first, racing for the booth while she cast glances over her shoulder. The world felt too quiet, too still, as shadows loomed, threatening to consume the street. Inside the booth, she punched in numbers, heart racing the same way it had when they faced down Jake, except she felt a different kind of urgency this time. "Please, please answer," she whispered, desperate hands shaking fast against the keypad as the line rang, while the echoes of her daughter's small gasps intertwined with terrible murmurs lurking outside. And then, as if summoned, the shadows shifted again. The din from the outside world grew a darkness that no longer belonged solely to Jake or that creature. It belonged to something deeper, scarier, an entity that lurked in every corner, beyond every door. "What's happening?" Lily cried, her fear ringing true. "Stay here. Stay inside the windows," Sarah shouted, pushing her against the back of the booth for protection. "Who are they?" Tom demanded as he wrung his hands, eyes darting nervously. But before Sarah could answer, a shattering sound ripped through the silence. The structure of their semblance began to crack and distort. The growls escalated into frenzied barking, shadows flooded the street, pulsing with terrible energy. They had been running from dangers, and even now, the wave of darkness swelled behind them, threatening to engulf everything they held dear. "Help! We need help!" Sarah shouted frantically into the receiver, praying for a response. Then all at once the world shattered. The growl morphed into an evil laughter that resonated through the air, filling her with dread, twisting cruelty that seemed to wash over everything. It was now or never. They needed to fight back. "Lily. Tom. We can get through this." As the shadows surged forward, Sarah felt her heart hammering against despair wanting to take root. The creature behind them pierced through the darkness, an outline against the streetlight flickering. With steely resolve, Sarah yelled, "We face it together. Fight!" And just like that, they stepped out of the booth, choosing to battle the dark instead of fleeing from it. Hand in hand, they faced the darkness, ready for whatever abyss awaited, knowing that the light they fought for lay just beyond the ruins of their fears. Would this be the moment they reclaimed their lives, or were they forever entwined with the shadows that hunted them? As the growl crescendoed, they readied their hearts for what came next, trembling in an equal blend of fear and hope as they stood unwavering against the storm closing in around them. The fight was about to begin, so what would you do now? If you need answers of your own, you might want to consider subscribing immediately to our channel. Don't miss next exclusive stories. Every beat of this journey matters. Smash that like button now, feed the algorithm, let us keep the dream alive. Overflow the comments section with your reactions and theories about the unspeakable horror. And make sure you instantly share this episode with at least 5 friends who need to see this wild conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to show your support. Only true fans understand the importance of backing this channel with love.